Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tousi TV, your global news channel. We have the latest news update, this time coming from the Republic of Korea. As things are kicking off, the new socialist president who was recently elected with a bit of support and help from his friends inside the CCP in China and allegedly some North Korean communists. South Korea has now been occupied by a bunch of socialists who are now promoting multiculturalism. And the president, who recently made a random speech promoting multiculturalism and fighting against the Korean nationalism, he's now escalated the situation by essentially saying we're going to be doing a massive crackdown on anybody who's going to be protesting against the mass migration. Now, President Lee's relationship with the communists in Beijing has already been questioned. The former president who was pushed out, a lot of people are now looking back saying, well, we did try to warn you. Korea, after all these decades of progress when it comes to freedom, market economy, and individual liberty, all that's going to go away because we have to be in favor of diversity. First, let me show you this speech recently, obviously, the Lee Jae-myung made about how Korea is going to be embracing multiculturalism, and he will do a crackdown on anti-immigration activism, because anti-immigration, anti-mass migration activism is now a bit of a taboo in Korea. Absolutely disgusting. This was a recent speech. Now things have escalated. Let's go.
외교단 여러분, 우리 국민 주권 정부는 국익 중심의 실용 외교를 기치로 삼고 있습니다. 기존의 돈독한 관계를 연속성 있게 소중히 갖고 나가면서 급변하는 국제 정세에 유연하게 대처하기 위해 특정한 사고에 치우치지 않고 서로의 이익을 증진시키는 다양한 협력과 연대를 모색해 나갈 것입니다. 협력과 연대를 통해 키워지는 국익은 결국 서로의 민생에 도움이 될 것입니다. 또한 국제사회가 직면하고 있는 다양한 글로벌 도전을 함께 헤쳐나가기 위해 힘을 보태고 책임을 다할 것입니다. 우리 대한민국이 지향하는 글로벌 책임 강국은 편견과 차별 없는 사회를 만드는 데서부터 시작됩니다. 거창한 구호보다 바로 우리 옆에 살고 있는 이주 노동자들에 대해 차가운 시선을 거두고 편견을 없애는 것이 우리 대한민국의 국격을 높이는 길이라 생각합니다. 국내에 체류하는 외국인은 약 265만 명으로 그 수는 꾸준한 증가세를 보이고 있습니다. 이주 노동자, 다문화 가정 등이 늘어나며 사회의 구성원도 점차 다양해지고 있습니다. 다름과 다양성을 존중하는 문화가 바로 그 사회를 발전시키는 토양이며 우리 정부는 이 토양을 잘 갖고 나가기 위해 더욱 노력할 것입니다. 최근 한국 내 일각에서 바람직하지 못한 외국인 혐오 정서나 이주 노동자 인권 침해 등 문제들이 발생하고 있는데 이에 대해서는 그 심각성을 충분히 인지하고 대응하도록 하겠습니다. 특히 차별이나 폭력, 인권 침해 행위에 대해서는 철저하게 대응해 나갈 것을 약속드립니다. 전 세계 각지에는 700만 이상의 한국 국민들이 거주하는데 이는 남북한을 합친 인구수의 약 10%에 이릅니다. 여러분의 나라에서 생활하는 우리 국민들의 권익과 안전 보호에도 각별히 신경 써 주실 것을 부탁드립니다.
So Lee Jae-myung's obsession with the North Koreans is becoming a bit of a problem for the stability of the republic in the south. And considering that his plan is to increase migration rapidly into Korea, South Korean citizens have been furious. Now, there has been an invasion in Korea. The initial invasion started recently by the Chinese Communist Party. The CCP and the influence they had over the elections to ensure that Lee Jae-myung becomes president. The left-wing nutter is now in charge of Korea. Using nice words, by the way. People have been protesting. This is again from a couple of days ago in Korea, chanting, commies, get out of Korea quickly.
때마다 이렇게 청년들이 열심히 해주니까
Well done.
감동입니다. 감동. 한번 보시고요.
우리 또 외국인 볼때 영어 코너 한번 해주겠어요.
자발적으로.
Well done, Koreans. China out. China out. Yes. The massive direct influence coming from Xi Jinping and his friends at the World Economic Forum is going to be making things harder for people in Korea to actually look after the people in Korea. It's not really rocket science. Make Korea great again. That was supposed to be the narrative. For some time, that was supposed to be the case. Now, over the last few months, everything is being reversed. All that progress is out. Now, the issue that we have, the anti-Chinese protests in Korea had been escalating since President Lee took over. Number one, you're going to have to need the same type of protests in the West, everywhere. Western Europe, North America, especially Australia and New Zealand. We need more protests against the influence and the interference coming from Beijing. We're not seeing any of that, which is absolutely fascinating considering the level of influence that China has in our countries. Having said that, of course, a big shout out to the Patriots in Korea for standing up against communists. Well done. Now, Lee Jae-myung and his commie friends who, essentially over the last few months in Korea, what they've done is they've become closer and closer to both China and North Korea. They also went around when President Yoon Suk-yeol decided to do the martial law, declared martial law. This was in, when was it? In 2024, towards the end of the year, right? December 2024. Almost a year ago, by the way. When the former president tried to warn people in Korea, guys, there is an infiltration from both North Korea and Beijing in China. They are coming. We need investigation. Well, they arrested him. They threw him out of office. Then somehow, Lee Jae-myung, who was on the other side, so said, I'm going to be a unifying character. I'll fix it. He made things worse. This is important for people to know around the world what's going on in these countries because it's happening. There's a trend. It's happening everywhere. You've seen what's going on in Australia. We will talk more about Australia as well. The downfall of that beautiful country because of the influence of the CCP. Meanwhile, the left wing commies. Again, you got the Chinese and some of the Korean commies who, by the way, where are they? Oh, of course, they live in the West. All the socialists live in the West, especially in the US, especially in New York City. They have been protesting in favor of the CCP on the streets of New York. And the narrative is, they think they've been clever. They organized a protest in New York saying, get the US out of South Korea. The narrative is, apparently, the United States has been occupying the Republic of Korea. Now, the protests obviously are 100% funded by the commies in North Korea and China. Let's quickly go to this weirdo woke-tard Koreans in New York and their supporters. And I'm going to explain the problem here.
Right now, I'm here with hundreds of people in New York City protesting the United States occupation of Korea. Right now, there are 60 military bases from the U.S. in Korea and 800 U.S. military bases all across the world.
You know
We're
why?
here saying that the same system that deports our people with ICE agents and is cutting our essential services and jobs through the so-called Big Beautiful Bill is the same forces that's wreaking havoc and devastation to all of our people across the colonized world.
What?
And we're saying we're coming together and we're seeing the connections between the struggles here and abroad and fighting for U.S. out of Korea and U.S. out of everywhere.
Hang on, let me get this right. So these guys think that capitalism and democracy, they're bad things. Free speech, bad things. Freedom, bad things. America, the American empire, bad. Right? They are socialists. They choose to move to the United States instead of moving to China. Right? And then then the narrative is America has been causing chaos in Korea. The same Republic of Korea that has seen huge progress since the 70s and 80s when they started to embrace entrepreneurship, enterprise in general, and freedom. They came up massively. Stability and peace. And they managed to maintain their identity and their culture. A bunch of anti-American, anti-freedom commies living in New York saying that the US should get out of Korea because China should get into Korea instead. We know why they're in America, by the way. We know the same reason they are in Australia, they're in Canada, they're in the UK and everywhere. Because they have to finish a job in our countries. They want China to go to Korea, take over. That's happening slowly. But they have to also take over from here. Now, before Lee's takeover, Korea was fighting for Korea. They were stripping off citizenship and deporting foreigners, including Pakistani Muslims, one of them who married, by the way, multiple women, which is illegal in Korea. I'm still fascinated by the fact that he managed to marry multiple women. This man on the right, the Pakistani man. And just before Lee Jae-myung took over, this is what Korea was doing. You kicked out of the president. You didn't like the fact that he tried to warn people that there is an infiltration from the commies. All this is going to go. Not only that, you now have to embrace these Pakistani men who want to marry multiple women in Korea. If you complain about it, you're going to be arrested. For example, under President Yeol's leadership, residents across Korea were allowed to perform citizens' arrests on illegal immigrants, hand them over to the police, and then deport them. All that is also gone. Evidence, this video is from just before Lee Jae-myung took office. So here's the Korean guy. There we go. Found an illegal immigrant.
안녕하세요.
Citizen arrest coming up.
대구 국회의원 후보 박진재입니다. 여기는 지금 저
Wait for it.
부여고요. 여기 찍어. 지금 탄자니아인 저희 지금 현행범으로 경찰에 신고를 했고 위조 신분증을 가지고 있다고 제보를 받았고 그다음에 불법 체류 2년이랍니다. 그래서 제가 체포를 했고 지금 경찰이 출동하고 있습니다. 시골은 불법 체류자, 불법 외국인, 뭐 이슬람, 부터해서 무슬림들 불법 체류자 엄청나게 많고 대포차 수두룩 감 얘기니까.
A lot of illegals from Tanzania and all the other places.
탄자니아인데 뭐 불법 체류는 불법이에요, 여러분들. 예, 불법이고 이 친구를 이제 본국으로 돌려보내야 되는 부분이고 합법적으로 들어와서 일을 하면은 아무런 문제가 없습니다. 시골은 경찰력이 부족하기 때문에 이렇게 불법 체류자들이 숨어있기 딱 좋습니다, 여러분들. 됐죠?
They're waiting for the police now.
Yes.
They're coming. There we go.
세번 놓쳤어.
Bye bye.
세번 놓쳐가지고 와 장난 아니지 지금 못 봤습니다.
There we go.
진짜 엄청 빨라요. 장난 아닙니다 지금.
That's what they were able to do. That's gone now because President Lee will arrest you if you catch illegal migrants and try to report them to the police. Now, as we said, Lee Jae-myung recently hosted the foreign diplomats for dinner. This was where he directly acknowledged Korea's xenophobia problem. And he vowed to thoroughly deal with the acts of discrimination and do a crackdown. Those who are being a little bit mean to migrants, especially illegal migrants. Lee Jae-myung argued that a culture of respect for difference and diversity is the soil that nurtures a better society. This is the basic nicer diplomatic version, a very a Korean version of saying cultural enrichment is good, diversity is our strength. That was basically it. He promised that his government will work harder to do a crackdown on those who want to shout Korea for Koreans. How dare you believe that your country should be for your people, should be for everybody else. Well, you'll pay for it, but everyone else can come. Now, more protests against the CCP and what they call China's Lee, as in Lee Jae-myung, have been happening. Apparently, according to our Tousi TV agents in the Far East, these guys, despite the threats from the president, they don't care. They're going to continue to come out. CCP out. Fake president. Beautiful. Well done. Never give up, never surrender, Korea. The influence to bring down the concept of nationhood and nation states is ongoing. That mission has already started in Europe, in the West. The attempt happening in North America, especially in Canada. In the United States, it's slightly harder for the liberal globalists, but in Europe, our liberal leadership is basically bowing down. The next mission is to go to the more essentially historic and strong cultures like the Koreans, like the Japanese, to also bring down the concept of their identity and the nation state. If you want to turn the world into a borderless, flagless, one world government nonsense, then you have to do this. This is the only way you're going to be able to achieve, but you have to still force people, like how communists have been trying to force people to be nicer, to share, in the name of the greater good, in the name of equality. Everybody else will be equally poor. This is the message. Now, we should get some reaction, but of course, don't forget, we have a couple of days left. The wedding is coming. I am officially getting married this weekend, so we're going to celebrate with you guys. 50% off Tousi TV Plus annual memberships. Use the promo code WEDDING50, scan the QR code, or find the link in the description. Just go on tousi.tv and become a member of the channel to get access to everything that we have. Don't click on the join button on YouTube. That's nothing to do with us. That's controlled by YouTube and Google. There's a join button somewhere down here. Ignore that. Go on the link or scan the QR code. That takes us to the website. That's our official platform. And of course, also our Tousi TV app, which you can now download from your app store. So don't click on the join button on YouTube. You can't get access to anything. If you get the app, if you get the website, that's the best way to get everything. Now, what's happening here? All right, first reaction. Did you hear about the Russia's electronic warfare against the EU's president's claim over Bulgaria? We can talk about that later, thank you. Did Trump really think he would be able to get India to give up on Russia with his puny tariffs? It hasn't finished yet. This is just the beginning of the fight. It's not like President Trump could impose tariffs and 10 minutes later the rivals just give up. You have to keep putting pressure on Modi and everybody else. What a dum-dum. Well, if you think President Trump is a dum-dum, you got other issues. Did you forget that India was under US ghosting for 40 years and didn't give up on Russia? Oh my God. Pretending to know about geopolitics. Kevin says, this Modi, Xi Jinping and Putin alliance is another Hitler and Stalin pact. It will not end well for all of them. China will backstab India first. Yeah, the issue with the Eastern globalist bloc compared to the Western system is that the Eastern side requires loyalty amongst the leaders. And each leader, even Kim, even Fat Kim, they all have massive egos. And they can't be replaced because they're not democratic. So it's not like you can vote them out. And there will be a massive implosion. It always is. It's happened every single time. Even in 1914, any sort of alliance that's built on massive egos who can't be voted out, well, they're not going to get along eventually. You need to actually have proper unity if you want to change the world. These guys want to change the world from obviously being more market-based economy and democracy into their system. Fine. You think that's a better world. And their narrative is to sell us that you guys in the West have become too woke and liberal. I agree, we become too woke and liberal, but the solution is not to destroy democracies and free market economies. That's a terrible idea. You just need to go back to conservative values. You need to go back to Christian values. But they're not going to be able to succeed. China is already imploding internally. The system is not stable. The whole thing is a bubble. You know, about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, people were saying, by 2018, China will be the superpower. Good luck with that. How's that going? The whole banking system, China's national debt, the government debt to the international banks, that's going absolutely insane. The housing market is falling apart. All these villages, they're all basically collapsing. Everything else is based on lies. Now, it doesn't mean that the American empire is perfect either, but it's still the best system we have. Nothing else is great. Unless you find a better system, what we have is what we have, as Churchill would have said, basically. Democracy is the worst system compared to all the other terrible systems that we have. Congratulations, much love, thank you. Also, every system will have their influences. So, of course, the Western globalist sides will also have people who influence decisions, lobbyists, and those who are shadowy figures, or whatever you want to call them, big financial backers. The same applies to the East, where it just works slightly differently. There's no system that's clean of corruption. Those who are, for example, against either system saying, I'm in favor of this system because it's clean. Every system is corrupt. Every system is dirty. You just have to make sure you find the system and support the system that's slightly better than the other ones. And market-based democracies is still the best system. It's not the best system. For now, so far, it's the best system. You just have to make sure that the liberal side are pushed out. Bring back some traditional social conservative values with freedom, then you can have a stable country like the 20th century America. Suzanne says, I work in the largest populated Korean area in the UK. The residents are mostly South Koreans. Good. And such lovely people. They are lovely people and they work really hard. Dana says, the American protesters in the US need to be deported and citizenship removed. Yeah, I mean, somebody needs to ask them. That's the thing about America and for freedom and the Western Empire in general. It's the only system, it's the only place that even the enemies of it, even the haters, would still want to move there and live there. We have so many people who are anti-West, for different reasons, by the way. A lot of people complain about the system. Guess where they live? In the West. None of them choose to move to North Korea or China. That's the fascinating part. They still want to stay and complain about democracies. Anyway. Got a couple of non-super chats. Strange that this only happens to countries with the West. These liberal politicians are traitors and should be dealt with accordingly. Well, it's not necessarily. I mean, in the West, the problem is the liberals. The problem in Korea is socialists like Lee Jae-myung. It's the socialist side that are basically betraying the Koreans. It's not necessarily the liberals. Even the liberals in Korea, they have the limit. They're not going to get involved with the CCP. Even the liberals know. It's probably best not to do that. But the socialists have no morality. Korea should remain Korean, a beautiful place with wonderful people. Keep Korea for Koreans. Absolutely. Kevin says, what are we protecting South Korea from with our 28,000 troops there? Are we protecting South Korea from a takeover of a foreign Islamic terrorist invasion and totalitarian communist government? Yeah, but the whole point was supposed to be to protect it from the influence of CCP. Now, if the government in Korea is now going to be inviting the CCP into Seoul, then it's their responsibility. The problem here is that the American troops are not there to protect the Korean government. They are there to protect Korea because it's in the interest of the American empire. If you just allow all these countries who are now market-based economies and democracies to fall one by one, well, you're just accepting defeat. And it's going to get closer and closer and closer to Washington. That is the end goal. If you allow either Islam or communism to slowly just take over, we've already seen before. You saw hundreds of years ago with the Islamic Empire. You also saw a few decades ago with the rise of the communist empire. Well, it could have succeeded. The Soviet side could have succeeded if it weren't for the Americans to be everywhere. Oh, by the way, the Americans made a lot of mistakes. They're also not the perfect world police. There's a lot of messed up situations. Vietnam is just one of them. But what is the solution? Surrender? You could do that. Those who complain about this, you can still move. You can still move to Beijing. If you don't like this, if you don't like this place, you can easily move. But somehow they still want to stay in the West. They still want to move to America. Yet complain about it and say there's nothing wrong with China. Priorities. Congratulations, much love. Thank you so much. Let's quickly get the lovely members of Tousi TV Plus. If you use the promo code, which is also right here, the QR code, you get access to the chat forum. There we go. What's happening? Deb says South Korea has become the proxy of China, North Korea, and Russia. Well, that's the thing. I mean, this is you're only a few months away from this to become official, which is slightly dangerous. Although the Korean Patriots, they're not going to give up. They're going to continue to fight back. There's still hope in Korea. How do you do it? Breaking news before the mainstream media every time. Gonna miss you for 2 weeks. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not gonna die for 2 weeks. I'm just going on the honeymoon. I'm still taking all this. I'm not going anywhere. I'm still gonna give you guys the live reports, even on my honeymoon. It's just the wedding day. I can't do anything on the wedding. It's the day of the wedding. Imagine me doing a breaking news. So we got the bride here, but guys, we've just had breaking news. Israel is under attack. That would be crazy. So yeah, it's only the wedding day, which Niak will be around to do other things as well. But Niak will also, our Tousi TV reporter, will be reporting from the 13th of September Patriotic rally in London. So he will be there on the ground. Of course, I'll be enjoying my honeymoon, but I will also do my work from wherever I am. Take away the right to protest, silence and condemn your citizens, and take away every freedom. Seems like communism to me. China is embedded in Canadian politics. Yeah, I mean, you can see the trend, both in Canada, Australia, and also obviously New Zealand. Why do these leaders not see communism always fails? It's because Lee Jae-myung himself is a communist, so he loves it. As I always say, this is masochism brought to you by sadists. The CCP is looking to expand its homeland, seeing as theirs is a toxic team who built hell. Yes, I know. The thing is, China, if they just focus on making China stable and strong, that could work. But China's obsession with trying to emulate the American empire from the Eastern perspective, you can't even run your own country, you idiots. You want to take over the world? The expansion of China in Central Africa was the biggest failure since the Vietnam War. They went to Central Africa about 10 years ago. Eventually, they tried to take over everything and obviously take all the resources. They thought they could do what America does. And guess what? Central Africans kicked them out. They're like, no. Although there's a very specific reason. The other parts of Africa, China still has massive influence. But yeah, central parts are like, yeah, no, get out. It was so corrupt that even China couldn't deal with it. We got a big super chat, a big comment. To listen to speech of the president just as the same claptrap, the idiot in New York. She's so delusional. Korea was one of the countries not infested with Islam during the Islamic expansion. It's madness to bring him in. Yeah, I mean, it's self-hatred. Absolute commies. They hate their own flag, by the way, which is really weird. Another comments. Oh, Maya, if you only followed the mood here in India, you would know. Anyway, congrats on the wedding, to the chats. The reason I keep coming back here 4 years on, absolute free speech. Well, the thing is, first things first, Modi is still a great leader for India. Modi is still going to be working as he does. His operation has been the same thing for the past few years. To keep close to the West and America, which makes sense, but is not going to be abandoning BRICS. It's in the interest of India to be close to that side because they're right next to China. It's easier for Modi to just keep his enemies closer and turn his enemies into rivals and business partners eventually. And that's what he's been doing with Xi Jinping. You can't really, if you're Modi, if you're any sort of leader in India, you can't really declare war on China. That's a terrible idea. Now, if you become stronger and stronger and stronger, then you can. But India is only nice to China because they're rivals, because it's best to do business. And the same applies to the way the Indian leadership are dealing with the other partnerships, whether it's being close to Russia as well as President Trump. Now, of course, there's going to be clashes. President Trump is not going to be, he has to save his face. He's not going to allow Modi to hang out with Putin whilst Putin and Xi Jinping are saying we need to destroy the dollar. President Trump has said, if you go closer to BRICS in order to bring down the dollar empire, I will destroy you. Fascinating enough, the so-called liberal globalist leaders, all of them, from Barack Hussein Obama to Sleepy Joe, even Bill Clinton, the people who are supposed to be leading the Western liberal globalists, they are the traitors to the West. They are the traitors to the same dollar empire that they are benefiting from. Their friends, Bill Clinton, Bill Gates and all the others, they are benefiting from the dollar empire, all of them. But the leaders, the liberal leaders, are not the actual defenders of the dollar empire. They allowed BRICS to grow and grow and grow. The direct rival to the dollar. It's President Trump who is fighting for the dollar to stay supreme. You bring it down, despite the flaws of the American empire, there's going to be chaos. You cannot allow the authoritarians to take over. Tousi, this is the only news source I trust. Thank you so much, Tim, for the support, and God bless the people of the Republic in Korea. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. As I said, don't forget, a limited offer. The wedding is coming up. Use the promo code WEDDING50 to get 50% off Tousi TV Plus annual memberships by scanning the QR code or going on the link in the description under this video. I'm Maya Tousi, and we are the media.